The biggest lie about happiness we've been sold as Americans is that happiness lives in comfort. Comfort isn't the goal, freedom is. And freedom, that's never passive. It's chosen over and over again. The longer you wait for life to feel easy, the more you delay the life that feels real. So if you felt that quiet hum inside you saying, there has to be more than this, there is. This is The Unhappy American, a short-run podcast calling out the lies, flipping the script, and giving you real tools to take your happiness back. Because you don't need to do more, you need to do different. Subscribe now, not to the life they told you to want, but to the one you choose. Humans, floating in reclining chairs, soft, sedated, screens inches from their face. Meals delivered through straws, muscles atrophied, minds disengaged. No hardship, no hunger, no movement, just comfort. That's not a dystopian thought experiment. That's the storyline of WALL-E. The most terrifying part to me, though, is that it doesn't feel that far off. We were promised happiness. What we got was convenience. Comfort became the goal. And in chasing it, we're slowly disconnected from everything that makes us feel alive. Because the opposite of happiness isn't sadness, it's complacency. We think we're choosing ease, but we're really choosing is erosion. Of joy, of agency, of what it means to be fully human. The biggest lie about happiness we've been sold as Americans is that happiness lives in comfort, in ease, in safety, in achieving a life where you finally don't have to try anymore. Just coast, just maintain, just relax. But that's not happiness. That's floating through life on autopilot, and it's killing us. We've built a culture that worships comfort from our couches to our careers. We automate everything. We outsource challenge. We minimize friction like it's the enemy, but it's not. Complacency is. The founding fathers, when they wrote The Pursuit of Happiness into our founding documents, weren't talking about pleasure. They weren't talking about vibes. They were talking about virtue. A life of effort, of engagement, of becoming a better person, not just for yourself, but for the collective good. Inspired by the Stoics and Enlightenment thinkers, they believed happiness was the result of living a life of meaningful action, not passive consumption. But somewhere along the way, we stopped pursuing. We started preserving comfort, preserving ego, preserving a version of life that doesn't ask too much of us. And the result, we're bored, disconnected, internally starving, while externally overfed. We treat complacency like success, but it's not, it's surrender. Every step of this series has really been about one thing: trading false comfort for real freedom. Most of us aren't unhappy because life is hard. We're unhappy because we've stopped engaging with life altogether. We've been taught to consume happiness instead of live it, to chase it in products, promotions, posts, and perfectly curated routines. But that kind of comfort, it sedates, it doesn't satisfy. We started this journey by pulling you out of autopilot, reminding you that you're not built to run on empty. You're wired for connection. We looked at how far we've strayed from nature, not just the outdoors, but our nature. We weren't made for concrete and constant input. We were made for light, movement, rest, and real human connection. We reclaimed gratitude, not as a feel-good buzzword, but as a practical skill, something to savor, to speak out loud, to build culture around. We challenged the idea that disagreement makes someone your enemy. We traded judgment for curiosity and remembered that compassion is power. We exposed the lie of hyper-independence and remembered that needing people doesn't make you broken, it makes you human. We reframed confidence. It's not about being the best in the room, it's about trusting yourself enough to show up as you are and keep growing. We looked beyond borders and remembered that we are human first, always. That our shared humanity matters more than nationalism or noise. We cleaned up our inputs, our food, our feeds, our attention, because what you consume becomes how you feel. And we reminded you that you're not stuck. You're choosing every day, even if you've been choosing by default. That's where this all leads, to the radical act of choosing discomfort on purpose. Not for the sake of struggle, but because meaning lives there. Growth lives there. Happiness lives there. So if you felt that quiet hum inside you saying, there has to be more than this, there is. But it won't be handed to you. You've got to build it. With attention, with discomfort, with choices that stretch you, because comfort isn't the goal. Freedom is. And freedom, that's never passive. It's lived, it's earned, it's chosen over and over again. I'm going to come clean about something here. This entire podcast, it's been wildly uncomfortable for me. Putting these ideas out into the world, speaking this truth, changing the myths that most of us were raised on, it's not easy. It's not safe. And it's certainly not comfortable. But it is my act of rebellion. Because if I've learned anything through years of research, coaching, and unlearning, it's this. You don't get freedom through comfort. You get to freedom through courage. And that's what I want for you, not just ease, but the happiness of freedom, of choice, of agency, of becoming the kind of person who acts on purpose. Here's what rebellion can look like in real life. Here's how to keep choosing discomfort that leads to something better. Do one, just one, uncomfortable thing a day that makes you feel more alive. Say the honest thing in the meeting. Turn your phone off for 2 hours. Reach out when you'd rather isolate, not for perfection, for presence, for practice. And then check your comfort. When something feels familiar, easy, or numbing, pause. Ask, is this peace? Or is it avoidance? You can't grow if you can't tell the difference. And use your voice. With your people, with your team, with your world, call out the lies when you hear them. That rest is lazy, that winning is everything, that we're victims. You know better now. Speak like it. You've got to live like your happiness matters, because it does. Not just for you, but for your family, your company, your community, your country. It's not selfish. Happiness is a public service. This podcast may be ending, but the rebellion isn't over. It's yours now. So, where are you choosing comfort over growth? Where are you pretending it's not that bad when you know it's not enough? Where have you confused numbness for peace? Because the longer you wait for life to feel easy, the more you delay the life that feels real. Comfort doesn't make you happy. It makes you still, and then it makes you small, and then it makes you stuck. And that's not the life you came here for. So if you feel bored, empty, if you feel low-key resentful of how fine everything is, good, that's your soul waking up. So, what does a happy American look like? It looks like you, fully alive. You're no longer waiting for permission. You're not chasing a version of success that leaves you empty. You're not buying the lies anymore. You know that happiness isn't handed down from a title, a paycheck, or a perfect plan. It's built from the inside out. You've stopped performing strength and started practicing it. You ask for help when it matters. You set boundaries that protect your peace. You speak with gratitude. You make bold, uncomfortable choices because they're yours. You understand now that happiness is a skill, and freedom is not found in ease, it's found in intention. You've learned that comfort will keep you quiet, but courage will set you free. And most of all, you know this work doesn't end here. You'll keep practicing, keep choosing, keep building the kind of life that reflects who you really are, not who the world told you to be. That's what it means to be a happy American. Not perfectly happy, but consciously, courageously, actively awake. And that's everything. You've made it through every episode. You didn't just listen, you stayed, you reflected, you showed up for your happiness, your freedom, your life. So now the question isn't, will you subscribe? It's, what will you do with what you know? Because now you know that happiness isn't handed down. It's not in the title or the paycheck or the applause. It's in your choices, your actions, your rebellion. So take the next brave step. Not someday, but today. Start the project. Say the thing. Ask for help. Change the system, starting with the one inside you. And if you know someone's still stuck in the scroll, the grind, the lie, send this to them. Not because it'll fix them, but because it might wake them up. This was The Unhappy American. And if you've been paying attention, you're not that anymore. You're awake, you're alive, and you're not going back to sleep. So let's go, America. Let's make it count. Let's be the rebellion. Let's be the joy. Let's be happy Americans.